ride together, we die together. Bad boys for life. Get busy living, or get busy dying.
Gang first, last. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Welcome to Brews and Reviews with Mick and Pat. I'm Mick.
And I'm Pat.
And each week we sit down with you degenerates to pretend we're certified cicerones and cinephiles.
That is right. So grab a cold one and join us as we review June Shine's Midnight Painkiller Hard Kombucha and give our thoughts on episode 3 of the HBO Max series, The Last of Us.
And if you've been with us before, you know what time it is.
Release the Kraken!
Oh, nice. No kombucha this week and no flat kombucha this week. It actually was like a perfect fizz.
Like a normal one. That's the thing about the first kombucha we reviewed really set the bar for what these things are supposed to do when they open. And so now I'm always ready for them to blow up.
Huh. Do you think we were supposed to flip the can before we open it?
What's happening to my brain? Oh, we're gonna have trouble reading the can because flip can to activate. Should we just pop another one?
I guess. Yeah, let's flip it over and make sure. I mean, we don't want to have an issue like we did last week where we might not be getting the genuine.
That's true.
Genuine taste.
Got to get the scobies down from the depths up to the top.
Alrighty, everybody, we're gonna do this again. So I don't know. Two-handed, man. Double fist. Flip another one over and get ready.
Yep. Do we need to shake it?
I don't think it doesn't say shake. It just says flip it together.
Yeah, all right, you ready?
I'm ready.
About the same.
It tastes a little different.
The taste is different.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So there you go. Taste is different if you follow the instructions on the can and flip it over before cracking it open.
Yes. All right. What's this? June Shine. It is called Midnight Painkiller. It's a coconut, pineapple, orange, nutmeg hard kombucha that you flip over to activate. This one, is it 6% alcoholic volume. These guys started up in 2018. They're out of they're brewed in San Diego, discovered by the Germans in 1904.
It means whale's vagina.
That is true. That is a fact of nature. These guys also, they are proud to be 100% carbon neutral, and 1% of sales goes to 1% for the planet. So they're doing their part there. They say they also like to compost and have dirty hippie feet on their website. What are you thinking so far? What are you feeling?
I'll say this. I need to definitely give it a swish.
Mm-hmm.
I need to push it through my teeth.
All right.
Give it a nice aeration. But so far, I think they nailed it with the pineapple flavor.
Mm-hmm. It is pineapple-y. Not too pineapple-y. The pineapple's there. And it's not too coconutty. Like if you're a coconut hater, you might still like this.
I'll be honest, I don't.
Because there's not much coconut going on.
It's hard for me to distinguish coconut from pineapple because I think pineapple juice and coconut juice have a very similar aftertaste.
Or it's like they're usually paired together in these sorts of beverages.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, part of me wants to say that I can trick my brain into believing the aftertaste is coconut, but I could also say it's pineapple and be none the wiser.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I really taste nutmeg. I don't think I taste orange more than I do pineapple. But it's definitely got a good pineapple flavor.
Yep. It's based off of the what drink was it based off of? I'll find it here in a second.
I think maybe
the Painkiller Tiki cocktail.
No,
which I don't know if I've never had that.
A lot of these hard kombucha seem to be vying for cocktails. Like the first one we did, the ginger lime. That honestly just like we said, Moscow Mule kind of flavor. Last week's was supposed to be the bee's knees cocktail. Mix it with gin. This week we got this one. I've never heard of the Midnight Painkiller, but I'd be interested in trying it now after trying this. I will say that the first flavor palate, like the first thing that I felt, taste wise on my tongue was more of the woodiness of the pineapple. Like it almost felt like I was eating a pineapple. No, not the middle. Like like from the outside. Like it felt. It almost tasted to me like you get a little bit of like the pineapple casing. The skin a little bit. It's like I don't know. At first I was like, "Ooh, is that gross?" And I was like, "No, that's pineapple-y." But then every sip after that, I'm like, it's got that toughy, like almost woody skin taste.
Right. Well, I think a lot of pineapple juice or pineapple drinks, like alcoholic drinks, the pineapple juice that's in there tastes like pineapple from a can.
Yeah.
Really sweet. This one tastes more like you're eating the real deal. It
does. It's like, here's my thing. It's almost not good. Like that flavor. But because of the pineapple and the other fruit flavors, it makes me really just think I'm like biting into a raw pineapple, like fresh raw market pineapple, and it's good. I like it, but like it's just enough there that it makes me like pause for a moment. But it's got a lot of yummy stuff. I see here it's got green tea too. Just like it seems like a lot of this kombucha has a green tea or a black tea in it.
I was just reading these. So this is called June kombucha, and there's a difference between actually June and kombucha. And I guess kombucha is made with black tea, typically.
And June's a month.
And June, Jun, is cultured with green tea and raw honey, where kombucha is usually done with black tea and refined sugar.
Gotcha.
So I guess it's, basically the same thing, a little different.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm pretty interested in like the other stuff here that says it's in it. Some hibiscus. Tree nut, like coconut tree nut. They specify. They want you to know it's the tree nut coconut. Yeah, not many ingredients. I'll say this: better than last week's Hooch Booch. I really like. Part of me wanted to try the Hooch Booch's other flavor, but I'm just burnt, man. I'm burnt. And if you look at the bottom of these cans, oh no, it's not here. It's on the top of the top of the case here.
Oh, and I've got it right here. Yeah, packaged on 9/22/22. So, what's the top of yours say?
Well, the top of the case here says 11/7/2022.
What if that's a ship?
Yeah, that must be a ship date.
Does it have yours on the rim on the bottom?
Yep, 9/22/22. I mean,
that's newer than April of 22.
Exactly. It is kind of weird, but like I saw on the bottom of the cans for one of the other hard kombuchas at the liquor store. It said like the stamp on the bottom of the can literally said "burn on June 22nd, 2022." And I was just like,
"Burn on."
What a weird, like, I guess burn it, like, drink it up, before then. But yeah, it didn't say canned, it didn't say bottled, it said burn on. So kind of weird. Honestly, still don't know when we're like what the optimum date is to drink hard kombucha. Please, more of those cicerones who dabble in the hard kombucha realm and ciders and all that, give us a little bit of a better insight on like when's a kombucha go stale.
We need them off the line.
Yeah, we really do. But these are pretty good. I'll say that. I don't know if I really have much more to add because it's a pretty simple taste. Like
it's pretty basic.
Yeah, it's as far as kombucha goes, this is the White Claw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like flavor palette wise, It's not doing anything other than just being simple.
What's interesting about these hard kombuchas versus just like drinking a kombucha, I don't think you can really tell the difference between one that's hard or not.
I've never had a normal, so I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to bring a comparable flavor on next time and see the, like, of just a normal kombucha versus hard kombucha. To me, it doesn't taste much different. But these guys at June Shine, like I said, they're out of California. They like to collab with lots of celebrities, such as people like the comedian Whitney Cummings, American DJ Diplo. I believe the children use his songs for the TikTok reels.
For the TikTok?
And my personal favorite, spearfisher and freediver Kimmy Werner out of Hawaii. She does some cool stuff. She's coming out with a drink with them right now.
Huh.
So I might have to try that.
That makes sense, though, that like a hard kombucha kind of takes off on West Coast. I feel like West Coast life would be much more in vain with drinking a almost 0 calorie, 0 gluten, good for your colon alcohol. But I'm kind of nervous what this is going to do because for dinner I had pickled eggs on crackers with banana peppers. And I ate the wheat thins because they're so high in fiber that they're really good for, keeping stuff together. But I wonder if this is just going to, like, cancel it out,
It's supposed to be like the log ride at when you stand next to the bridge at Six Flags, that log comes down and
No. Gross.
Yeah,
well,
and that dirty water with Band-Aids and old funnel cake in it just gets you soaked, and you weren't thinking ahead because you're a kid, but now it's getting nighttime and you're cold.
There is nothing.
Wet clothes.
There is no water dirtier than theme park water.
Oh yeah, man.
The way it just sits there and just gets washed over the same dirty bridge over and over.
And the funny thing is, you stand in line and look at it for like 3 hours, and you just like see like a seagull feather like floating in it, and like just the cloudiness, and it's kind of rainbow skimmy on top, like someone just put oil on it. You just stare at it, and then
you get in it.
You just get in it. You forget. You just get in that thing.
Oh man. Well, all right, Pat. What are we gonna give this, man? Tell me. What do you? I mean, design wise, clean design. I like the idea that it tells me to flip it over and then open it. Taste wise, neither of us had as much of a response as last week's Hooch Booch. What do you think?
This is one of their as far as reviews go on their website, like lots of their stuff only has like 20 reviews, a couple that have 100 reviews. Their highest one is the Blood Orange Mint with like 600 reviews, but this one has 450 reviews, so it's second highest reviewed. So people like it. So I guess I don't know how long it's been out there, around maximum since 2018.
Yeah.
But personally, I'm going to give it. I'm waffling between a 0 and a 1 thumb.
Okay.
Because I feel like it doesn't excite me.
I mean, last week you didn't even give that thing 2 thumbs down.
I should have.
You gave it 1.
1 thumb down.
I gave it 1 thumb down.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm shocked that you. I give this a solid 1 thumb up. Like if I'll say this wouldn't be the first thing I pick for someone to step into hard kombucha with. But if someone was like, "Hey man, you mind grabbing some drinks?" But I'm gluten free. I might just grab this.
Yep. The gluten-free part about all these kombuchas is pretty nice, but yeah, I'm giving it 0, just middle of the ranking.
That's not bad. That doesn't mean it sucks.
Yeah,
that just means it's not like a standout, memorable one. I'm gonna give it 1. I'm gonna give it 1 thumb, just probably because I've had beer I enjoy less than this. Like, I enjoy this more than some of the beers we've had on the show that I've given a thumb to. So, and I'm trying to think of, like, not just my own palate, but would I recommend it to someone else, So, all righty, cool. Well, with that, let's hop on into second half of the show here and get into episode 3 of The Last of Us, season 1. And I'll tell you this. Whew. Pat, man, I don't think I've had an experience like this episode with TV ever. Like, I legit sitting on the couch, had maybe 2 drinks. My wife had 2 drinks. We were just finished dinner when we put this episode on.
Mm-hmm.
And man, there was just so many points where like we were just holding each other's hand, looking to each other's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have just tears swelling up. Billie Jean, she just got tears swelling up. Not really. I don't think she actually cried once.
Mm-hmm.
But she would look at me and smile, and I'd just be like, gosh, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I love you. And I would look back at the TV, and I just remember crying, dude. Like, just like squinty eyes, you know, just tears running down my face, and nothing like, no, like, you know, none of like the little kid cries, like a none of that stuff, but like just like
not quite that far.
Not the shuddering, but like legit just like watching it and just like trying to flex my face to not cry more. And dude, it was a powerful experience, man. And the second time I watched it with a buddy of mine who's single, not married.
Did you stare into his eyes and cry during it too?
No, but him and I are bros.
Yeah.
Him and I are like, we're like, if this episode wasn't about the two of them being gay lovers, they were just bros, it'd probably be me and that guy, right? Like, that's how tight we are in real life. Like, we'd be the homies in the apocalypse. But all that said, even him, like, not having anyone to be sentimental with, he was moved to tears.
Really?
And like, I know he's a more sensitive man.
Yeah.
But he's not like, he's not a mushy, gushy guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought he was going to look at me after the end of the episode. Like, my concern was like, he looked at me like, dude, I mean, I get it. Like, I get why it was emotional for you. It was good. It was kind of boring for me. And I was just like, I was so delighted to see that he was like emotionally touched by it. So all that said, I'm putting myself out there because I am so biased with this one. I know I had such an emotional experience. Pat, first thoughts before we start hopping in on the plot and stuff.
I thought it was really well done. Usually when there's like a scene of men
lovers
making love.
Yeah.
Well,
not my favorite scenes to watch.
You know, it's just, you know, it's not something I'm like trying to partake in a lot. But
only on my birthday.
So, you know, I'll say this, the storytelling and the acting and the genuine relationship that was going on or being portrayed cut through all that for me. You know, it's like the first couple scenes, like hairy chests rubbing together.
Even then, though, it wasn't like a sex scene.
I appreciated they didn't go there with it also, because if you actually also want to, like, if Hollywood wants to make a case for like same-sex stuff, then it shouldn't just be all based around sexuality, like having sex. Like, you should base it off of a genuine, pure love for one another, which is what they did in this, you know. So I did appreciate that I didn't have to like watch something like that, because it was no nudity, whatever. Like, that was nice. And then, but the story itself was definitely moving, and you felt moved by the characters and their story, and they took, you know, essentially this was a movie stuck into the middle of a TV show. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. It was crazy.
And there's been shorter movies even, and, you know, like this episode was about an hour and a half.
I think it was an hour 10 if you cut out the
hour 10.
Like the last episode and post episode stuff.
Oh yeah. So so that being said, you know, they were able to just give you a whole movie though that also tied in really well to the whole story, and not so much the plot of the whole story, because it doesn't make that big a difference. The like Bill's involvement in Joel's life, it does help him get a Chevy for like 20 minutes, but it did add so much to like the overall vibe of the show.
Yeah.
You know,
And I think like just the storytelling aspect of like this takes place in this world. It's a small compartmentalized experience. And it really did feel like it brought way more of the world to life, even though it didn't take place more than like maybe 3 to 5 minutes of the episode took place outside of this small, less than 1 mile. It was probably like what, 10 square miles was like this whole episode of just like not even 10 square miles.
Even like really just like someone's house with their like a big property.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, I gotta know, man. Did you have an emotional reaction? Did you feel like emotional? Like
I did.
Did you have things being elicited? Like especially at the end?
I didn't shed a tear.
Okay,
but I did. I was thinking through like, you know, through my own lens, what would this look like in my own life? And so the hard decisions they make at the end together, and also it didn't elicit tears from me, but it did make me think of a few things, even evaluate things like my own marriage of like, it made me think to myself like, man, am I like selfish? Like in my relationship, or am I like somebody who's like these guys in my relationship?
Yeah. I mean, all right, I got to ask this too. Did you watch it with your wife?
I did not.
See, and I think that was a big thing. Like having that person sitting right next to me.
Yeah.
All right. Going forward, pure spoilers. You've been warned. If you don't want it, like, you know, we're talking a lot about this episode. We're hyping it up a lot. Last final chance to get out of here. Okay, spoilers going forward. First thing I want to talk about. Let's just go like linearly through the episode of like what we liked, what we didn't, whatever. Dude. Opening stuff with excuse me, with Joel and Ellie. I liked. I felt like it was a very natural place to pick up post Tess's sacrifice. First flat like problem I had is like when it was like 10 miles west of Boston and like they're in the woods and in the mountains. I was just like, damn, I don't remember that like being mountains that close to Boston. I don't think I ever saw mountains in Massachusetts. One of the goofs from this episode is that there are not mountains within 10 miles of Boston. No matter which direction you walk, 10 miles from Boston is just more like suburbia.
Right.
Like Boston's a big city and it's a lot of suburbs around it, not just stuff like that, which is fine. You know, it's forgettable. But I just thought that was like a funny first thing. I was like, really? You're not going to like push that to like 40 miles outside of Boston?
and no, last episode I said, this isn't a freaking Marvel movie, like budget wise.
Yeah.
Actually, it kind of is. Like Guardians of the Galaxy was 200 mil.
Yeah.
All right. How many episodes are going to be in this series?
I think there's 10 in season 1, maybe 9. 1.
All right. So they're doing 10 to 15 mil per episode. So yeah,
but it's 5 times as long as any real movie.
Right, but meaning that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying per episode. So that's meaning once you add that all up, it could be $150 million
for 12 hours.
Right. So yeah, that's true. Yeah. So there's more time, but they are putting in a lot of money to this.
Yeah.
And I think
they should be though.
And I think Craig, we need to know about Game of Thrones, because I read that they're like forking it out way bigger than they did for even Game of Thrones.
They are now but you got to keep in mind, Game of Thrones was kind of
like at the beginning.
It was the most expensive. Season 7 or season 6 was $10 million episode in Game of Thrones, And that was like the most, but like it paid off, right? Because they realized they're like, holy shit, like we can make so much money back forever, right? Like people will just keep on watching the show. So, all that said though, smoke break.
Smoke break.
Hey, Ken, it's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you can put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, 0 fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick and Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution.
Oh yeah, by the end of Game of Thrones, they were doing 65 mil per episode.
Shit.
So it went up consecutively, like where they started off at like 5 to 10. So, and then by the end was 50 to 60 mil.
Well, I heard that like lead cast was getting over $1 million an episode in the final season. Like
That's crazy.
Jon Snow, Kit Harington, Emilia Clarke, Nikolai Coster-Waldau.
All those
Jaime.
people had no, like, really didn't have any career
No.
besides this. Imagine just,
Yeah. The one thing I don't get is how everyone always says, like, I'm just exhausted. I need to go do something else. I'm like, bro, for $1 million an episode, I'd be doing this for 10 years, 30, 20 years.
Yeah.
You kidding me? Like, anyways, it's funny because they all say that. And then now, like, Kit Harington's like, so can we do a spin-off series of Jon Snow in the Wall for, you know, the quest for more money?
Yeah.
I was like, not that like he needs it. I think he's financially fine, you know? But like, I just find it funny that like everyone was talking about like, I'm just over it. I'm exhausted. I want to do something else. And then like the last season felt so rushed. And then now everyone's like, wait, can we get back on that Game of Thrones train?
Yeah, because they're like, you're never going to make money like that again.
No, dude.
In your life.
Look at the cast of Friends.
They were making $1 million an episode
They were
at the
making
end.
$1 million an episode in the final season. And what did any of them? I think maybe Jen gets. I bet she probably gets $1 million for each movie she stars in or supporting cast in, right? But none of the other
one or two of those a year, maybe.
Not even
Compared to like 20 episodes in a season of 1 year. Like,
yeah. The rest of them are not like making that kind of money. Anyways,
yeah.
So it's such a side tangent. I apologize, but Ken, follow us back to the episode. So that was the first thing I just noticed, but I did really like the time that it gave us with Joel and Ellie, because for the first time I feel like Joel was kind of taking a protective position around Ellie with like, you shouldn't see this. You know, like you don't give a shit about someone seeing something bad if you don't care about their well-being.
Yeah,
Like you just really don't.
they're starting to like rebirth his like fatherness, his fatherly
At this point,
abilities.
yeah, I think in this episode, it's kind of like someone's tasked me to protect her, and that's part of protecting her, right? But like, I think there are parts like that are peeking out in this episode, but we don't really spend much time with them. They do some looting. Ellie does a little bit of like the same thing any kid would do. I think if they had an opportunity to get up close to a predator without it being able to hurt you, you'd like kind of stare at it, explore it. Like it was a little kind of like cutting open your cat in the backyard when she put the knife to its head and like just was like she had a smile on her face a little bit. Yeah. And but like I gotta say, like I did the same shit. Like I would grab grasshoppers and I'd throw them on anthills and I'd watch the ants eat them just because I was fascinated
Curious.
by it. Yeah. All I said, I thought it was pretty good. Intro. But man, oh man. And I feel like you would like really appreciated this. Because I know for myself with kind of my own mentality, and like preparedness, you know, survival stuff, wilderness survival, especially, like I loved that the prepper didn't just get like a poked fun, haha, all your preparation was for nothing.
Right.
But literally like the first montage of this episode, like is just, Nick Offerman's character, Bill, succeeding, like literally like all of his preparation.
Like
yeah. Not just like, yeah, succeeding, but like you said, thriving, and not only thriving, but like every one of those other people in his community that just thought Fedra was there to help him and left. And the people who would probably make fun of him, talk behind his back in the local community, those people died. And he, not like they should have died, not that they deserved it.
Right.
But I'm so used to the theme in movies being like the prepper guy just is an easy target to make fun of. He prepares a lot and then it never works. And it's almost like a gag in so many like apocalyptic things. And like, rather than doing that, they're like, no. We know who probably identifies with Bill. You know, we know those guys out there. Let's just give them a moment in the sun, man. Let's show them having their freaking heyday, right? Yeah. Going to Home Depot, grabbing whatever they want, and just having a ball. And I thought that was so tasteful and refreshing, and I hadn't seen something like that before. I can't think of another apocalyptic movie that or TV show that actually does that really good justice.
And I wonder if they probably would have he was a good fit for this character regardless of having played like Ron Swanson. But like some of the, like, this was just basically like Ron Swanson in real life in a real apocalypse, not in a comic, like not in a sitcom. You're like, it's just so funny. The Nick Offerman, like he is like his own archetype. Like he embodies
kind of.
Like
this from what I've heard, he's pretty left leaning.
He is, yeah. So he is like, but this the typecast that he is like fallen into, that he plays so well.
Like
this like
dry delivery of sarcasm.
Like dry libertarian, self-made.
Leave me the alone and let me just do my thing.
Yeah,
I can probably do it better than you.
Yep, exactly. And so I thought that was that added to this character.
Yeah. I think one thing that I really appreciated is that like I saw a lot of stuff being demonstrated, and you know, like I think they knew that if you're watching this and you're one of these people, you're kind of prepared. You don't need to see him drop the like stability tablets in his 500-gallon tank of gas.
Right.
You don't need to see him do these things to know that he's probably doing it. And like a lot of the background stuff, I mean, you don't know if you don't know, right? But there's a lot of stuff in like his workshop area, books on his shelves. Just there's a lot of things in his garage where it was like, oh, like we never see him touch that, but we can assume he uses it to its extent. I know I saw a lot of people complain. They're like, there's just no way that fuel would last 20 years. And I'm like, guys, I don't think you understand. Like when you have a vacuum sealed container of like gasoline and you can stabilize it, like it's not gone in a few months. Like gasoline in your car tank won't go bad in a few months. Right. You need to start your car and run it and kind of get rid of it, like, so it doesn't just like fume and deteriorate in there. But like you can leave a tank of gas in your car and it'll take about a year before it gets to the point where it might be a little gunky if you don't use a car for a whole year, right? And I guess, I mean, just there's like things like that I thought were really well done. I thought the fence setup was really well done. I know of people who have these like actual like kind of compound fences, and they mostly had it just because they got sick of repairing their electric fences with their cattle every year. And they just realized if they put something up like this, it would just last for a while. And like the way he set it up, keypad and everything, like I know people who have built that, and like it seemed totally fine to me to fall in line. Yeah, I don't know. I just loved it. I thought it was a perfect compliment to the thing that a lot of you and I and our friends talk about of like, you know, being prepared for a situation like this, and instead of kind of roasting those people, it gave them a moment of glory.
Yeah. One thing at the beginning of this episode I was wondering about is if it's in the game or not. Like, it shows Fedra coming in 2003 when it happened, like at the fall. So it's like, is that supposed to be like that was a government organization before? Or did it like it's
like a fictitious like FEMA and kind of FBI,
right? Because like,
combined.
And they did that exist prior to the fall?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, man, this whole like America fell pretty fast and just had a whole nother like government stood up pretty quick.
It's kind of like we have something like that today, but it's not called Fedra. But like it's under the name of like, honestly, like I think it is FEMA. Like there's National Guard detachments that are assigned to going with FEMA when they're deployed to places.
Oh yeah.
And so, I mean, honestly, like you could have just called them National Guard and would have been just as believable.
Right.
But, yeah, man, anything in that intro, like with him grabbing stuff and like, just like things that you saw, you're like, that was crafty. That was cool. That was creative. I like that. Cause you're way more tools wise than I am.
Well, I enjoyed just watching him put all this stuff together. Mostly he was acting like it wasn't, he wasn't surprised. That's the funny thing about his like prepperness too, which is just like if you ask if 10 years prior to this event happening, you'd been like, all right, 10 years from now, you'll be fending off the federal government and complete like dystopian chaos is struck and you're having to react to it. You'd be like, well, yeah,
of course, that's what I'm preparing for.
That's what I'm doing this for. So it's like he just like he didn't even care. The first line out of his mouth, he says, "Not today, you new world order jackboot."
Yeah. It's like they actually gave him that line as like they said, "This is the feeling you have." Come up with something to say. And they just were giving it to Nick Offerman to come up with something to say. This is a little trivia thing. And Nick Offerman was like, no, that's exactly what I would say.
Yeah.
And like, so they're like, really? And he's like, yeah, I want to say that. I want that to be the line. And they're like, all right. So they kept it.
I thought that was great. And then like, because he's also just like eating food with proper silverware while like watching his cameras.
So refined.
Yeah. Like, and like, he just literally doesn't care. It's hilarious.
No, there like it shows. It's not like, it's kind of weird because unless you know someone like this, you, I mean, and like know them, like you're a friend to them, like you're kind. You've had dinner with them. They're hard people. I think a lot of the times, like people like this character specifically are a lot harder to kind of keep around because they don't want to be in the big group socializing. They don't want people to really know what they're doing, and they're really okay with no one knowing what they're doing. They're really okay with no one knowing they're an expert on something.
Right.
But like if you know this person, you know it's not like a lack of empathy. You know, like the refined sitting and eating dinner while the world is falling apart is not like a, wow, this person's fucking sociopath. Like how can they just sit there eating venison steak and fresh garden veggies while the world has collapsed and people are dying? It's literally just a way of preserving like sanity and habit and like finding joy in what you can, like the little things you control. And like those people, these preppers, like they take a lot of pride and joy in the things they can control and do for themselves. It's not because they don't care about everybody else
Right.
or aren't willing to help.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's something that they did a good job also showing is
Mhm.
like, he's not a ruthless sociopath who's just like walking out and just blowing people's brains out when they stumble onto his place.
Right.
And that moves into like when we find Frank's
Yeah.
introduced.
And for the first, like, the first third or maybe whatever it was, like the first 10 minutes that Frank's like is coming to Bill's life, were you just stressed the whole time that he was going to take advantage of him?
I wasn't
even during their first like love encounter.
No, I wasn't, just simply because I knew of how it occurred in the games.
Right. Because okay. See, because that's right. See,
it's very different in the games. They're like, you don't see Bill and Frank together in the games. Excuse me. But I felt like I understood that Frank was going to be essentially the modum operandi for demonstrating that Bill is a human with real feelings who can care about someone. And he's not, if you think these type of people, the preppers, are all, it's all the gays and Jews' fault, right? Like, you're wrong.
Right.
Because they are just human beings that have something they care about and like are invested in. And their hobby is preparing for the worst.
Yeah.
But they still can love. They can still be, kind to everyone. They might not be bigoted, right? And I think and I just felt like that was really what they were going to go with. And so like the whole time I never was wondering, is Frank going to betray him? Part of me was though wondering if Frank was just going to make fun of him. But I think they made it like that went away really quick when like it showed Frank being genuinely, I guess it didn't show it. You hear Frank being genuinely delighted that he has a shower and is like pleading like, can I just have 5 more minutes, man? And you're realizing like, okay, this is 4 years in. Frank probably hasn't bathed in a couple weeks.
Right.
And he hasn't had warm, hot shower with a drain since it started.
Right.
Yeah.
And for me, I guess since I don't know any of the storyline or any of the characters, watching it from that perspective, you were just waiting for like him to take advantage of Bill. Like,
and I agree. Like that makes sense because I think we've been trained by shallow bad writing to believe that's what should happen, because that's what happens in The Walking Dead.
Right.
You don't even need to watch The Walking Dead to know that's what happens.
Right.
Because that's the same thing they do every single season. And it's just always on this forever like cycle. And like, this is an apocalypse show. And that not only did they undermine that like idea and like, hesitation of like, what if he betrays Bill and Bill's compromised now because he showed one act of kindness, but then they just keep going with it. And they're like, no, we're actually just going to tell a story of someone who is like, of 2 people who are genuinely blessed with the ability to die of like old age in each other's arms, essentially, I mean, die at an old age rather than like one of them being eaten, one of them being murdered and shot, one of them seeing, I think of like the Glenn and Maggie situation from The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah.
One of them getting their brains beat out with a baseball bat
by a psychopath.
Yeah. And like legitimately, like we just get to see essentially The Notebook, but takes place in the apocalypse. That's my foot, bro.
Well, I was wondering what that was underneath the table.
But all that said, moving. I think the first experiences with like Frank were pretty cool. I really liked. I'm a Christian man. I am not very. I don't find most displays of homosexuality in films very like accurate to my experience with having like grown up with like a gay parent and stuff. I think like you said, it's so over sexualized. And it almost makes it seem like that's all this person's identity is that they have sex with someone else of the same sex.
Right.
And I just thought like it really did a good job of not only showing like awkwardness of being in a life or death apocalyptic situation and taking the time for sex. Like, because let's be real, it's probably, I don't think it'd be very like in most shows where it's like heat of the moment and they're just ripping each other's clothes off and they're just making out and it's like zombies all around, right? I think it'd be pretty awkward to be like, really? Right now? You think we're okay? Like, you think we can do this? Like, giving, like, passing body fluids back and forth in a situation like this, like, doesn't seem wise to me, you know? And so, like, and then, like, the way they do in this show, I thought was so tasteful and, like you said, not a lot of nudity. It wasn't over sexualized, and it really did feel like you were watching like an awkward, like true to life teenager's first time of like learning how to do this, and it felt very romantic and sincere. Like it felt very like, I care about you. I'm not gonna take advantage of you, and you don't get to take advantage of me. Like, this is a mutual understanding thing, which is very just refreshing, man. I've never, which it's weird, you know, it's sad to say this, I've seen a lot of like homosexual relationships in like TV and movies and stuff. Never seen one shown like this that made me genuinely think like, this is sweet. They're being kind and sincere with one another. Granted, I don't watch a lot of like, I don't watch any shows that are really aiming for the LGBTQ audience, right?
But these days, like a lot are,
right? Yeah. And it's just kind of like, if you're watching anything, like they're going to have something like that in it. But this was so tasteful. And like, I remember my wife, who's also, you know, a Christian like me, and my buddy, who's a Christian like me, we were all just very much like, that was so sweet and sincere. And like, I felt like I was, like it felt giggly. Like it felt like just like a genuine romance between two people, and it didn't feel like they're like I was seeing someone have sex,
right?
You know, and it's probably because you don't see them have sex, right? Right. Like they kiss, and then it essentially cuts to them arguing. And this is the funny thing I heard. It was like, you know, they're in love because the next scene,
right after
they're
they do it for the
swearing at
first
each
time,
other.
yeah.
Yeah, 3 years later, they're arguing like, you know, spouses, and they're like, can't I have just one fucking thing?
Yeah.
And I thought that was so well done, you know, when Bill's just like, okay, like puts his hands together, he's like, help me understand, explain it to me, and like, I have, you know, I'm like, dude, I've been in that situation with my wife many times, you know. What were your thoughts? Kind of
same thing.
The transition
and that cutscene, it was great. Yeah, you know, it's like, yeah, they were together for their first time, and then the next just hops 3 years down the road, and it's just, and the way you knew that they were still together was that instantly, you know, he's coming out the door, F you in or something, right out the door, you know, and I thought it was funny too, like even in this post-apocalyptic world, like one of them is essentially wanting to like improve the house and have friends, and like, and the other one's like, nah, I'm not into that. And it wasn't any different than how it is now.
Well, it was like, I mean, let's be honest, like, it doesn't have to be the apocalypse, man. If your wife was like, I want to spend time investing our money and resources into renovating this store.
Yeah.
This store that you as like the husband is like, no one goes to that store. It's an old store.
Yeah.
I don't even know how it's in business because they sell boutique clothing. Why would we pour our resources into that? And it's like even more exponential here in the apocalypse, where it's like, Frank, no one is coming to buy clothes there. Why are we going to pour fuel and paint and wood to repair that building when we're the only one who's going to get clothes there?
It's like, because don't you love me? It's like, I don't get it.
Well, he said the thing of, you know, like, it's our way of showing love, you know, and it's like taking care of this place. And I just was like rolling my eyes so hard, but I knew my wife would probably say something similar in the apocalypse of like, it's something to put effort into and show that we care about this. So I mean, I get it. I thought that was funny. Anything else kind of before like the big jump that you thought that you kind of want to touch on? Because and by big jump, I mean like jump into when, you know, these guys are f***ing geezers.
Right. Yeah, I think that they before they got old, they tie the main cast back in with Joel and Tess, and they're having dinner together, and it's just hilarious too, because it's also like
so awkward.
Even in the real world and in the apocalypse world, like your wife makes you have dinner with friends, and you just want to shoot the guy or whatever. Like, he's like, I don't. It's just so funny. He just has his like gun on the table, and he puts the hammer forward. When Frank's like, come on, he just puts the hammer forward. Right when Frank leaves the table, he just cocks the hammer back again. Yeah. Just lays it right down. And the only thing I wish there was more of like Joel and Bill's relationship, or like more of their,
get to see more of them interact.
Yeah, like I feel like that those two guys could like, rule the world essentially in this world. But part of it is that they weren't really friends. They were just like respected each other as men in this place.
Yeah, which I appreciated, because I remember like they're not friends in the game. Like Bill helps you out of some weird obligation that's not really ever clarified that I can recall. Essentially, it's like he's helping you, and like from the point of the player, it's like, man, these guys must have been through some shit, because they really don't like each other. They're yelling and swearing at each other constantly, but Bill's still helping Joel. And rather than just shooting him and Ellie and putting them down, it was very like they have a history,
right? And it's not even that they weren't mutually tied necessarily, that they needed each other for survival. It just was out of like mutual respect for one another.
Yeah,
as people, they did grow to have trust. Like, I think you're good, you think I'm good, and I respect who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was cool. I do want to talk about the Raiders, though. The Raiders scene. My biggest beef. Bill has an AUG in his basement on the wall. For those of you who don't know, an AUG is in the civilian marketplace, a semi-automatic 5.56, same cartridge that an AR-15 uses. It has an integrated scope on it for the older models, which is what I think we saw on Bill's wall. Not to mention, he just had like several other firearms that just
all sorts of stuff. They were better than a bolt action rifle.
Yeah, they're better than a hunting rifle.
Yeah, with a 3 to 12 power scope at night or whatever.
And like he's just standing in the fucking road, cover, like white t-shirt, glowing, with the reflection of fire. And I'm just like, okay, is this the point where they're kind of making fun of Bill because in like his panic of an attack actually on his compound is this supposed to be the first one? Are we supposed to believe this is the first one? It sounds like it, because it seems like before Joel talking, he's never had to deal with the Raiders.
Right.
And now like they're here, they're attacking, and he just like is lost in the fog and haze of battle where he's just wandering in the street. I wish it was a little bit clearer that, because to me, I would have thought like, damn, bro, I would have thought he would have known like of the building to fall to, so that way they don't go into the house where Frank is, and he would drive their attention to another building while firing down from a position of vertical advantage and cover out a window, right? And all those firearms he has, dude, like some of those firearms are perfect for firing in the dark at someone who has much brighter light source, right? Yeah. Like, I think if I remember correctly, there was a suppressed firearm on the wall. I'm just like, what? I just believe that like the writers I want to believe in the writers saying like, this is an example of how maybe he isn't prepared for everything. But a part of me just thinks they just fucking pissed in the wind with that scene.
I was thinking about two things in that, because Joel does it too. Like
shooting in the street, or not
carrying the best firearms that are available to them. So I was wondering, is it like, are they paying back to like the video game? Was there a lot of like, these are the type of guns you have?
You don't get an automatic rifle till like the last level of the game,
right? So I think there are only two excuses for this. Or one, the best way for them to say this is we're going off of like firearms from the game.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Or two, they didn't hire the right technical advisor for this. To also like this is a chance to have like a dynamic fight scene, and it was a chance for them to. They're telling this really good story, and they were able to. This would have been a chance to break out and to have a really good action scene and not lose any of the story. But because you really never see any of the people that he shoots get shot, or like they're just all burning and spin. There's one scene of a guy literally spinning in circles while he's on fire, just like standing, doing 360s.
Bro, what would you do if you're on fire?
I would at least lay down and then do 360s.
I don't know, man. You ever been on fire? What if you forget?
No, he's standing in the flame, like twirling like a ballerina in the active flame. Just like, this was one of the scenes where they coulda, shoulda, got a little more dynamic with that scene.
There's a million things to kind of Monday morning quarterback off of that scene, I think. But all that said, I'm trying to just give him benefit of the doubt because the rest of it was so good. So flawless. Big time jump. We think Bill's dead, dude, because he gets shot for being a dumbass, standing in the middle of the road, shooting at people.
And he's giving Frank, he's telling him, call Joel, he'll take care of you.
Joel will come and save you.
Here's all the copies of the keys are here. And then he stops breathing and it just closes his eyes.
Yeah. And then it cuts to the sound of Frank saying Bill. And and we see someone in the distance in a wheelchair, and we're like,
but you don't know who it is yet.
We don't know, but I assumed right away it's Bill.
I thought, I thought Bill was crippled. Me too. That's exactly what I thought.
He's in the wheelchair, and Frank's wondering where he is, if he's out on the porch. But then it zooms in, and we see it's Frank in the wheelchair hollering for Bill to come get him because he's getting cold on the porch, and they're fucking old. Yep. It only was another 10 years.
You age fast in the apocalypse.
Well, it was it was a 10-year jump from the point when Bill gets shot that night to the next scene. And man, that 10 years had to be from 59 to 69, or 60. It was a steep jump in the way their bodies age. But dude, this was where this episode climaxed. You thought the episode was gonna climax at the firefight scene. Nah, dude, seeing Frank with either MS or ALS
or cancer. I
think it's supposed to be MS or ALS.
Yeah,
because of his tremors
and his tremors.
Not having finger control. And with that too, you lose the ability to walk pretty quickly with both those. I think the most poignant stuff was we see in this last decade so much of what they did with their life in the background. Before this 10-year jump, I didn't really notice any of these paintings of Frank anywhere.
Oh yeah.
But then all of a sudden there's paintings of Frank, paintings of Joel. I think there was one that alluded to being a feminine portrait for Tess, and it alludes to Joel and Tess had come back and visited at some point, but the house is just filled with these paintings by Frank of people he cares about, these few people he knows and can actually take time to make a painting of. And then you just see him struggling and just not having any energy. His hand trembles, essentially ruining this painting he's working on of Bill. And man, dude, that it's just it's such a crushing thing because we know that as something we've heard people experiencing or we've known people experience it. But at the same time, I immediately started thinking how sweet, because no one gets to get this far in the apocalypse,
right? And with a beautiful life. Everybody else is in these QZs with a weird new world Nazi government scrounging around. Even plastic baggies are in short supply.
Monsters,
and these guys are just enjoying music, wine, fine dining, company of each other.
Showers.
Yeah, the whole thing.
New clothes when they want them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like that was hard to watch. It was sad. Nick Offerman crushes the walk of an old man.
Oh yeah.
He has the hunched shoulders, stiff arms, and shuffling feet walk down to a pat. Like the way he moves just was so on point with like old
He
man
aged.
walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I said, let's just get to it, man. Final day. It's my last day.
Yeah.
Frank wakes up, climbs into his chair. Bill wakes up to see him, and they're arguing over Frank spending all night trying to get in his chair, gonna make himself sick or whatever. Frank tells his loved one, tells his spouse, "This is my last day, and at the end of this day, you're gonna help me commit suicide because I don't want to live as this disease gets worse, and I become more of a burden and less control over myself. So." Make my last day great. And dude, like the way Nick Offerman looks at him crying, old man tears on the couch.
Yeah.
Dude, that broke me, man. And I just like, and here's the thing. I know the roles will never be switched with my wife and I. I know it'd be my wife telling me like, this is my last day. Like we even talked about it. She's a firm believer she will not survive any kind of apocalypse, right? She's like, I'll die so fast, you'll have to go on without me. All that said, like, I just think I'm like, I don't know if I could do it, man. I don't know if my wife said, this is my last day, go on, keep living, help me die. I don't know if I could do it, dude. Like the pain and like seeing Offerman's face and having to the person he loves most in the world, the only person really in his world, telling him like it's over. Yeah. These 20 years, they're done now. And it's time to accept it. And it crushed me, man. It crushed me.
Yep. It's heavy scene. It showed like the genuine care he had for Frank, and then also like fast forwarding to the end of their evening, like he really didn't have anything else to live for. Like what are you gonna do?
No. Yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking to myself too. Like before the big reveal, the big twist, I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, God, like what would I do? Like maybe I do it, and then once she's gone, I'm just putting my gun in my mouth. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, especially in this situation, like, it's hard, I think.
There's nobody depending on you. There's no legacy to, like, raise and leave.
Exactly. You in real life, you have kids.
Right.
But imagine you and your wife didn't have kids in this scenario, and it's your wife.
And we had no community, no greater purpose outside of ourselves and our own survival.
Yeah, what's the point of all of it without them? Right? Like if like she dies and you're looking around and you're like, what's the point of the fucking fence? What's the point of this trap? What's the point of these guns?
And I think that was the biggest part of it for him was he didn't have a reason for all that stuff before. Like he didn't know he had a reason for all that stuff. Because he really didn't personally care if he lived or died himself.
Yeah.
But then he found his purpose in there.
Yeah. And like that final reveal, when did you realize that he had put pills in his drink? Did you realize it before he said it?
Yes and no. Because I didn't know if he was going to die. I don't know if he was going to like go do cool stuff with Joel for like 3 more episodes or 4 more seasons. But then I was like, oh man, this guy's old. And then
when he was old, I was like, I don't know if he's making it past this episode.
Yep, I was ready for him to do the scene from Princess Bride with like the iocane powder in both, and when you hand them, switch them back and forth. It's like I thought he might do it then, and then he mixes the pills and he swallows them, and then when he chugs his wine too, it's like, oh yeah, he's toast. Yeah,
that's when I realized it. Like it was after he pours wine in both their glasses,
and it had already been opened.
And he comes in with an open bottle of wine.
Every other time he opened it in front of him.
Yeah, he comes into the room with an open bottle of wine. The wine they had on their first dinner or whatever.
Mhm.
And then he pours their glasses, pours crushed up pills into Frank's glass, not
Mhm.
his own. And then he waits and
Mhm.
watches Frank drink. And I think when I saw him watching without like crying,
Yeah.
Like-
when he poured the pills without like any emotion, also, I was like, all right, he's resolved to something here.
well, yeah, because like you see the way he just watches to really make sure Frank drinks that whole glass of wine.
Right.
And as soon as he does it, he just downs it, swigs it, tosses it back, and then out
Mhm.
like it was like right before he took the drink of his own. I was like, Bill did something. Like somehow his glass is also poisoned. I didn't put it together that he put medicine in the open wine bottle already, but like I was like, he did something to it,
Yeah.
sleight of hand or whatever. And man, like it was so sweet, bro. And I don't know about you, man, but like I do think quite a bit about Billie Jean and I in our last days, what it would be like, you know, especially when you have one spouse who's like definitely going before the other.
Yeah.
And she hates that I talk to her about it. I ask her
Yeah.
questions all the time. She's like, stop asking me those things. They make me so sad.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, I really like in that moment when they both drink the wine, something just hit me and I was like, they have minutes. They have minutes left together in this world where everything outside of this house is over.
Yeah.
Most things outside of this house don't even have like electricity, running water.
Mm-hmm.
And they are literally going to spend their final minutes holding each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man. It just hit me so hard because I was like, I probably won't get to spend my final minutes holding my wife.
Mm-hmm.
My wife probably won't get her final minutes holding me. You know, likewise is that one of us is going to die after the other quite a bit, right? And it hit me so hard. Hits me hard right now just thinking about it. Gets me teary-eyed and emotional right now. And I mean, for you, when you saw, so like it's over, you know they're not going to live. You know Joel and Ellie are going to show up to this house with both of them dead. What was like really going through your head at that point?
Yeah, I was thinking that basically what I was telling myself, I was like, man, like Bill could go do more good in the world. But then I was also like, maybe he's too old for that.
Would you though? Would you go do more good in the world?
Well,
if you were like in their shoes?
wait, because I wouldn't have been in his place in the first place. I would have been Tommy out wandering around
come on.
But
If
no,
you're
but like here's because I
married Pat out wandering around.
like you said with your wife, she's like, I wouldn't make it a day. My wife says, every time we watch something like this, my wife's like, I wouldn't make it 24 hours. She's like, I wouldn't. You have to leave me.
You might become Joel and Tommy real fast. Dude.
Exactly.
Both of our loved ones are
I'd
dead.
already be like starry-eyed Tommy out trying to like do good or whatever, and we'll see what happens with his story. But I've thought about this before. If I were to jump out of a plane and pull my parachute and it didn't go, pulled my reserve and it didn't go,
Yeah.
by the time I hit the ground, could I come to terms with and be at peace with what was about to happen to me? And just choose to enjoy the view and enjoy my last few minutes and seconds of bliss, doing like a crazy thing, you know, just, I mean, this experience that you're not going to feel a thing, you know, like it's done. It's done. And not saying like, not be like, in this situation, you can't do anything to get the reserve to go. It's done, you know, and just like in that amount of time, could you come to terms with and come to peace with your demise, and in that moment choose to enjoy it? So I do think about that in like this situation with them too, where it's like they chose to end their life, and then you could just for the next like 20 minutes be freaked out about it, like, oh my gosh, we're gonna die. Or you could somehow come to grips with and come to terms and come to peace with your demise. So that's kind of something that I was thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah, it was heavy, man. And like I kind of just think like when you're finally there, if you have that loved one, I just don't know if there's ever a point where you want to stop. Like I don't know if I'd ever be ready for a last word. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like as we're drifting off, you know, as this pills are taking their effect, I don't think there'd be ever a point where I'm just okay, done talking. Like, I think all I'd want to say is I love you, I love you, I love you, until like I'm legitimately just overwhelmed with the drug. And I just don't know. I don't know. It like I'm still thinking about it, and like, you know, it's still having an effect on me in the way I think about how I love my own wife and how I treat her, and like, what if tonight's our last night?
Right.
You better be sure to say I love you, I love you, I love you. You know. All that said, though, I mean, Joel and Ellie show up, and they see a letter from Bill with the truck key, and it's sincere and it's nice, and there's a homage to Tess, which I thought was cool, especially since her voice actor passed away when this episode was released. When I watched it the first time, they didn't have anything at the beginning of the episode as a memoriam to her. Second time I watched it, they did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they like put something in the beginning before the episode, which was cool, but. All that said, I really enjoyed it. I'm trying to believe in the writers here, and I'm just accepting that Joel hasn't had the humility to tell Ellie he's not a gun guy, because I think like the only reason why Joel wouldn't have taken some of those nice semi-auto firearms and buckets of ammo is because he just doesn't know how to clean them, doesn't know what bullets go with what, but he's a hunter. He's hunted before. He's a good old boy from Texas, and he's hunted.
Military too, right?
No, Tommy is.
Tommy's it.
Yeah.
But we've already seen him operate.
He knows how to
weapons.
Yeah, he knows how to shoot it, but like, there's just things in me that I'm just like, why would Joel take a hunting rifle off of Bill's wall and not
all the other stuff?
Not any of the other semi-auto firearms with better capacity.
6-shooter to something that has freaking 17+1 in it.
Yeah. Oh, and take a couple of the mags.
Everything. Yeah, everything.
Yeah. And all that said, I'm just thinking that I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of like not a gun guy.
I think it's the video game aspect.
I don't think it is, man. I think Joel's just not a gun guy. He misses his shots a lot.
No, Joel's.
I don't think he's a gun guy, bro.
Yeah, who's not a gun guy?
Who?
The writers. Directors.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. My own in-world explanation is that Joel doesn't want to say in front of Ellie that he doesn't know what bullets go to what gun.
Yeah,
but he knows what his revolver likes, and he's used a hunting rifle, so he knows what he can load in that hunting rifle. Yeah. But he sees the AUG, and he's like, I don't know what the goes in that. I don't know how to clean it. I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all that said, I thought that was so dumb how he didn't do that stuff. But Closing thoughts before I just go over some of the cool trivia facts. Anything that you got, Pat?
No, I think that in general, just it was a really well done storytelling by everybody who put this together, and so I enjoyed it, and it was unique and something I hadn't really seen all the time.
Yeah, I'll be honest, man. I can't think of a better hour of television I've seen. Like when I think of like the TV shows I've watched, I can't think of something that was better.
Yeah.
Not saying there isn't. I've watched a lot of good stuff, but off the top of my head, I don't know. Maybe the finale to Breaking Bad. Actually, probably I will say this: the finale to Breaking Bad I probably enjoyed more than this episode, just because I love Breaking Bad. Which tangentially leads into our trivia. Nick Offerman was offered this role and officially cast in it by the writers and directors because they believed that funny people have a soul, which is advice that they cited from Vince Gilligan, writer and director of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and how Vince Gilligan hired Bryan Cranston, who was primarily a comedic actor before Breaking Bad, and Bob Odenkirk, who was a comedic writer and actor before Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
So I thought, and I think it worked.
Oh yeah. And what's funny is like the iconic picture of Walt, Bryan Cranston,
in his undies.
Is it him in his dirty undies holding a gun out on the road? But growing up, how did we see Bryan Cranston the whole time?
life is unfair.
In his dirty undies, being a goofy dad.
Yeah.
And so then they like took the same exact picture, stuck a gun in his hand, and made him a heck of a character.
I'll tell you this: upon rewatching Malcolm in the Middle, like leisurely now as a 20-something-year-old, I say 20-something-year-old, closer to 30 than 20.
Yeah.
Malcolm in the Middle is not a teenager sitcom. Malcolm in the Middle is a dad sitcom.
Yep.
Malcolm in the Middle is written for fathers to have cathartic releases. And I don't give a fuck what anyone else says. That show was directed to people who are parents. I love it so much. Cinematographer Evan Bolter, apologize if I mispronounced your name, who's a big fan of the games, pitched the final shot, that super cinematic camera pull back through the window as the truck drives off with the curtains kind of swaying. This final shot of the window was a tribute to the game's title screen, because that's essentially the same shot in the title screen of the first game. It's just like that open window with a country road. He really fought for that shot. Like, they kept on telling him, like, why would we end it that way? And like people who didn't play the games just don't understand. And he's like, no. This is the perfect way to end this scene. When Ellie wants to know how the pandemic started, I thought this was kind of cool little bit of trivia. She suggests, knowing that like the disease passes from bites, that it was started off by monkeys biting people. You know, that's her like kind of her theory, which is a reference to another great zombie movie, 28 Days Later, where the rage virus cooked up in a lab in England. Some PETA folks try to break out these monkeys in labs. The monkeys bite people, spread the virus. So I thought that was cool. Anytime like they do like not just a generic reference, but like a specific reference, I really appreciate that. And then the last thing, I thought this was really funny. I didn't even play the game. I just watched a playthrough, right? But I remember thinking it was so funny when I was watching the playthrough. The way you find the battery to the car in the video game is opening a fridge. And it's so weird that it's like, why is a battery in the fridge?
Right.
And in the show, they really like pay homage to that, where like Joel opens the battery, there's the battery and sulfide powder for like getting the car battery set up. And I just thought that was like, they didn't have to do that, but that was so on the nose. So I thought that was cool.
And it was funny too, like when he looked at the fridge, he like knew there was a battery in it.
Yeah.
But like nobody knows there's a battery in there.
Yeah. Last thing I want to say too that I just appreciated about this episode. Thematically, Bill in the game is supposed to be a version of Joel. That is, if Joel loses everything. If Joel doesn't have Ellie, he doesn't have Tess, he has nothing left to go for. Because Bill in the video game genuinely believes Frank abandoned him. Frank grabbed it and left like a week ago or weeks ago. And usually they get in their arguments, but Frank comes back after a while, and Frank's never come back.
Frank.
Yeah, in the video game, Frank doesn't come back to Bill. And Bill, and when you have your meeting with Bill, Bill's like, Frank's gone. And Joel's like, is he dead? And Bill's like, no, he left. And Joel's like, oh, usually he comes back after a couple days, right? And Bill's like, not this time, he left. And I don't think he's coming back. And Bill's like this spiteful, angry, F you left me, you know, not taking responsibility for his own issues. And it's supposed to be like a warning of like Joel could become this nasty guy. You find Frank, who had gotten bit, and when he got bit, he wrote a letter to Bill saying, I'm sorry, I was trying to come back. And he hangs himself before he can turn into a clicker. And it's really sad. And you give Bill the letter, and then Bill gives you essentially the keys of the car. And it's not like really alluded that Bill's going to commit suicide, but it's kind of themed like once he realizes Frank is dead, Frank was going to come back. He just like doesn't have anything to even be angry about anymore. It's like he's not even abandoned. It's just that like maybe he's the kind of blame for Frank dying because he got in an argument and couldn't apologize. And so it's just a really sad note to leave Bill on. In the show, though, it's the opposite. Bill has everything to live for. Bill has someone who makes him very whole, gives him purpose. And rather than living life without that, he realizes his whole life needs to be about this. And like, essentially he's supposed to be what Joel can become if he like preserves Ellie and invests in her and protects her, then like they can have this future.
Right.
And so I thought that was really cool because it like, it's the two versions that it's the two endings Joel's could have. Joel could end up this bitter, resentful old man alone, or he could end up loved until the day he dies.
Right.
It's all about how he operates in this apocalypse, the choices he makes. And so I thought that was really cool. That was really like my final note on this episode, because I know we've gone long, but like I thought it was just a really great twist that they did.
Yeah, that's good. I'm giving it 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs?
Yeah.
Dude, I give it 2 thumbs up too. I'd recommend anyone to watch this, even if they don't watch the rest of the series. Cool.
I agree.
Well, hey, that's episode 3 of The Last of Us. Another good kombucha down in the books. Join us next week as we hop into episode 4. And until next time.
Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.